Welcome to the WinEH podcast. This show is focused on empowering ranchers. Whether you're a seasoned rancher or just getting started, we'll guide you on how to use the infinite banking concept as an alternative way to finance your operations. It's a better way to think about money. Join us as we discuss planning for the future, attracting the next generation, and the art of keeping more money within the family. Here's your hosts, Winnie and Lacey.
Hey, so glad that you're choosing to lean in and join in on the conversation that we are going to have today. We are going to talk about this frequently asked question when people start hearing about this. And that question is, why haven't I heard about this before?
Yeah, we get asked that so much.
And sometimes it's like mainly because it's right after the point in which they start hearing about the benefits, and it's like, how come I haven't heard about this? But it's almost like that question comes, in my thought process, I think it comes from a place of, number one, disbelief. Number two, maybe a tinge of skepticism that, because they haven't heard of it before, it's not real, because it's not the common path. I know that the psychology is that a lot of people, there's a lot of us that, like, I'm an early adopter. I don't need to wait for the entire crowd before I'm going to go and do something. But there's a lot of people who are more cautious than I am and will choose only to do it if other people are doing it. So when you're thinking about, okay, well, why haven't I heard about this? Like, just take for a moment. It's like, because we can only sit over here and we can only kind of guess and speculate where that question really comes from. What I will say is this. If it is a point of more so of skepticism, it's because it hasn't been around a long time. First and foremost, the way in which Nelson Nash talked about it in the Becoming Your Own Maker book. Again, this was just born shortly after, in the 80s when he suffered, right? So 1980s and to 2024, that's only around 50 years. Okay. You have to think, sometimes an idea takes a while to spread. So, okay, Lacey, I know that you wanted to speak to the other aspect of this.
Yeah, so I say, you hit the nail on the head with skepticism. People come to us with skepticism because they haven't heard about it. And one that I just got this week was, well, why aren't people doing it? Why aren't more people doing it? And so, interesting enough, facts, and they're right in Nelson's book. So the Income Tax Act in Canada was introduced in 1917. But what's really even more interesting is dividend-paying whole life insurance has been in Canada since 1847. So these types of policies that we use as the vehicle to implement IBC have actually been around since 1847. Just like you said, since the 1980s when Nelson conceived and he developed the infinite banking concept, that it has been taught to use them in this way that we use them. So in the grand scheme of things, you're right. So I was born in the 80s. I'm an 80s baby. And so, 40 to 50-ish years is how long this has been being taught. So it's actually a very young concept. And I think that plays a huge part in why people haven't heard about it.
If you haven't listened to any of our other sessions thus far, you might be joining in for the first time and thinking, what the heck are these two girls talking about? We're talking about the infinite banking concept here, which is a thought process, a way of thinking about how to reallocate where you reside your wealth. And it happens to be a dividend-paying whole life insurance contract that is used. It's especially designed towards your circumstances. There are some good contracts and there's some really poor contracts out there. And so that's why it's really important to really keep learning with us. So to Lacey's point, it's like you can take solace and comfort in knowing that the financial vehicle being used is time-tested. What hasn't been time-tested is the thought process that we're using. Right. It's because we've been so conditioned and so used to, like, we've abdicated our role of our financing to the bank. And that's just how, like, they stepped up to the plate. They led the way. They created a path to get more money when you don't have money, period.
Right.
And it's just kind of, rather rinse, repeat. And if no one else is going to step up to the plate and show a different option, then that's how it's been. So the infinite banking concept is now stepped up to the plate to offer a different way of going about doing things. And it's something that everyone ought to learn about and check into.
Absolutely. And of course, we're biased, but that's okay. We can be biased. And so we invite you, if this resonates with you at all, or you're like, your wheels are turning and it's like, hey, this is intriguing. So first off, hit the subscribe button, because we have so much more content for you to take in. And then reach out to us. WeCare@rancherway.com. You can email us and reach either one of us. We love to chat with you. And mostly head over to our website, rancherway.com, and grab the book bundle, because in Nelson's book, there is so much useful information about what we just talked about the Income Tax Act and how long these policies have been around and how he conceived this concept. And so you're going to want the bundle, because it's so super exciting that we now have a Canadian version of Farming Without the Bank. It's going to speak to you, and finally it's here. So that's what you need to do, folks.
Yes. And rather than using the income tax as bait to get people reading the book, I would say, I'm going to throw a different braid out there, Lacey. I'm going to say, if you want to know more about how you can get the banks out of your life so that they're not the only people financing you in your life, then get the book.
Yeah.
I know a lot of you are interested in that.
Absolutely.
So glad you leaned in with us on the WinEH podcast. We truly hope you're feeling more informed and empowered to take another step towards optimizing your financial life. Right now, make sure you hit subscribe so you can keep growing and learning with us. Until next time, we wish you prosperity in every area of your life.